and welcome to April May Creations, the channel dedicated to all things creative. My name is April Sittler, and I love to create. So whether you're here for a little inspiration, or you just want to see what I've been up to, thank you for joining me. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll be notified when each new video arrives. I also feature many of my creations in my Etsy store, April May Creations US, for those of you who like to watch but prefer to pick out a finished product. I can't wait to show you what we're going to do today, so come on, let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm so excited to show you the creation project I have for you today. I had so much fun with this project, and it's such few supplies that you need to do it that it really is economical, and it gets you organized in a flash. So the project today is going to be an expanding file folder, and I've made several of them for you to show you the different styles and the different ways that you can structure yours. So those are 3 that we've made so far. The first one we made in the project for October for my Buy Me a Coffee membership program for April May Creations. We do something fun like a craft or have a digital download or something every month. And as part of that project, this month we did one of these expandable file folders. And so the blue one with the pretty flowers and the birds and the butterflies was made by Michelle. So she shared pictures with me so I could show the one that she did. And as you can see, there's 3 different closures I want to show you today. So there's a tie wrap around, there's a little bead with a button, and then there's a fold down magnetic closure one. So I'm so excited again to show you this project, and I think I'm probably going to make 10 more of these things because there's all kinds of things that these can be used for. I wouldn't use something this pretty for bills, but I'm sure there is maybe, if you homeschool your children, maybe there's weekly assignments, so you could have one for each day of the week or each week for the month. You could do it for keeping your kids' chores in there, right? Or maybe some little surprises for them when they finish their chores. It can be used for, I'm going to use mine to organize my information for my YouTube channel and for my Facebook pages. And so all my ideas, my creative ideas, that's what I'm going to have in several of them. So it's so much fun and it's so easy. So stick around so I can share with you my tips for making it even easier. Now, the first time I saw this type of project was on YouTube, and it was on a channel called Scrapbooking with Me, with Miss Edith, and she did a expandable file folder project. She used some recycled folders that she had from her business. I didn't have any, so I just bought them new. So you can get the Pendaflex folders at Walmart, or you can find them pretty reasonably online as well. And so it's just any kind of folder that's going to be expandable, that's going to have the little pocket inside, and that expands so that you can fill it up to the brim if you need to. And so you want to get those. The Walmart package has 10 of them in a package, and so you will see also in this project I use all 10 in one of them, and then in another one I just use 6 of them. So you really can make it as big or as small as you'd like. So you'll want these file folders. You'll want a corner rounder because some of the edges of the file folders are rounded, so you're going to want your corner rounder. You'll also want some glue, and I'm just using the Dries Clear glue that I use for a lot of things. Some sort of tab punch would be helpful. This is one from Stampin' Up, but any kind of tab punch or tab shape will be fine. You can even trace one out. So if you want some tabs at the top of your folders, instead of them being straight across, you'll want one of these. And then if you want some sort of ink to ink around the edges, you'll see on one of mine I did ink around some of the edges, and Michelle did hers too. When she cut out her embellishments, she did that. And the only other thing you need is some scrapbook paper. I like the 12 by 12 because one sheet is big enough to cover the whole folder. As you'll see, we also did a pocket at the bottom of one, so you can have an outside pocket on the front or one on the back if you want. And you'll use, for the 10 expanding file jacket organizer, you'll need 12 sheets of paper. And if you want to do different coordinating colors, if you want to do it all the same color, you won't need as many different ones. You'll want 7 pieces of paper. And then for a 6 folder organizer, you'll want 5. So it's one for the front, one for the back, and then the ones that are going to decorate the insides of each folder, you're going to cut those in half. And you're actually not even quite half, about 5 inches deep, so that you'll have a 2-inch strip left over, and that's what you can use to make your tabs out of. And then I also had some coordinating colored papers that coordinated with some of the packs that I used, so that if you wanted to accent with some solid colors, you'd have them. So the papers that I used for mine that you'll see today, I did out of the DC WV paper. I had 2 of those stacks, paper pads. Probably got these at Michael's or Tuesday Morning, somewhere like that. They're a little older patterns, so you might have to pick from some different patterns, but the reason I picked these is because they have some really nice big patterns that you really, unless you use it for scrapbooking, or maybe you can cut it up for a card, it's kind of hard to use these bigger patterns. But this full file folder project is perfect for that. So I used those, and then I also pulled out one of my Michael's pads. They're little hot buys where you can get these 48 sheets. I liked the thickness of these papers too, so they're really provide a nice stability to your project when you get finished, and it makes a nice weight for the tabs too, since you'll be using them a lot. So I recommend this heavier cardstock, and the Michael's Hot Buy does a really great job. Now it is only single-sided in this case. You won't need to use your double-sided, so you can save that for some of your cards or your other projects. So those are all the supplies that you'll need to do this little project today. So what do you say we get started? Now, one of the first ones I wanted to show you was the one that we made in the project for the month for the Buy Me a Coffee membership in the greatest of all time membership level. So we decided to do a tie closure on this one, and so that's the first one I want to show you today. So the tie closure, what we did is we just waited to glue down the back piece of paper. We put it all the rest of it together, and then we turned it over, and we took a piece of ribbon. In this case, it's kind of a burlap, as you can see, a burlap ribbon. We strung it across the back, and I used some double stick tape to hold it down. We made sure we had it situated where we wanted, and we made sure that both ends were long enough so that we could tie a bow in the front, even when the file folder got extended out a bit. So you want to tape down the ribbon on the back, then use some glue and glue down the entire back page so that you cover and hide the ribbon. And then when that dries, you'll be able to have a nice tie closure for your folder. And that made a really, really cute project. The second closure I want to show you is the one that I used on this little birdie one. This is also the one where I did the pocket. So I want to cover a couple of key details on this one for you. Okay, so let's get started. So as I was picking out the paper, Again, I mentioned to you earlier that, you know, there might be some pages of paper that you just aren't sure what you're going to do with. And this is really a great project for that. Because as you can see, this whole area is going to fit on the front of this. And so it'll be really cute with the bird down here at the bottom. I'm going to start by cutting the piece for the pocket at the bottom. So I'm just going to cut it right above the design, right on that line of the notebook. And then with this one, I'll start it up here at the top and just bring it down and glue that down first. And then I'll have the pocket on the front that will look like that. Okay? So, as you go to cut this pocket, what I realized was, if I leave a little bit of this flap, I'll have something to glue down so that the pocket will stay open. So that's a lot better of a design. So I'm going to cut this off. At the height we need. And now I have two pockets that I can just glue down on these sides. There we go. So I'm going to glue this part down first, and we're just going to cover up the front scallop on this one, and we will, on the next one, we'll use it. So I'm going to glue this one down first, and then I'll glue the pocket on top of this. And then we can create a little notch. So I just have a circle punch. You can use any circle punch. So if you've never heard of a centering ruler, that's what this is. It's 13 inches, and then it counts from 0 to the 7, 6.5, and 0 to the 6. 0 to the 6 and then 0 to the 6, so that you can see where your center is. So your center's at 0, and each side you want to be on the same mark. So if this is center, then these 6s have to be on the same mark on either side. So there's 5 and 5/8 and 5 and 7/8 and 5 and 7/8. So you want to make sure, and then here's your center. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mark at my center, and then this is what I'm going to put the center of the circle on. So the circle pinches are great for doing little notches, and so you'll just kind of have to judge when it's in the center of the circle. And then you can do a deep notch, or you can do a narrow notch. I'm just going to do a little narrow notch, and you can always do it deeper if you want. So there's your little notch. And that way you can easily see that you have a notch there. And then I am also going to take, make sure I got the right color. So I'm going to use the suntan squiddy, which is just kind of a nice little beigey gold that blends. And then I'm going to take it and go right along here so that the notch kind of stands out. Gives it a little of a dimension too, so that it just doesn't look so plain. So see, kind of looks a little distressed. And then you can do it down the sides if you want to as well. And you might find you want to do this before you glue your paper down. I'm doing it after so that it will also help color some of the edges of the folder so that the folder won't appear as stark manila colored. So there we go. So there's our front and there's our pocket. Okay, so I think the type of closure, I'll show you how to put on this one, is a button closure. So just pull out any of your old buttons. I just save all my old buttons and then they come in handy for things like this. And then what we'll do is we'll tack this back on the back, and then we'll bring this around, and then when it's done, we'll just wrap this around the button to secure it. Okay? Now for the button, and for the cord, I'm just using a wax cotton cord. We'll want to attach the button to the card so that it doesn't come off, so we'll kind of almost sew it on. And I want to attach the button not just to the paper, but to the also to the folder. So we'll want to go through those two layers. So again, if we want to have the center, then let's find the center, which is right here. And let's make a couple of marks for the holes. Okay. Now, I'm going to you can take any kind of mat and any kind of piercer that you have. I just have a self-healing mat. And then we're going to poke our hole through that and the folder. So that it'll be more secure. And then let's see if we made our holes big enough. I'm going to take a little piece of the cord first, and we're going to put it through the back. There we go. So that should not have been that hard, but it was. So now, pull this through a little bit. We're just going to tie a little bow. And we'll put some glue. Down in there. So that it keeps it snug. Maybe we'll just tie a little knot. Okay. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, and I think put a little bit of that glue down in there when we tie the knot. And we'll let that dry. And this dries clear, so let's just put a little bit around the knot to help secure it a little bit better too. So we're going to put some extra glue around that to make sure it gets glued down well. So there's the back. So this is the pattern I chose for the third one. I wanted to do one a little less whimsical because I know not everybody loves whimsical. So I wanted to do one that's a little bit more monochromatic, so that for people who have that sort of taste. And this would also be a really, really pretty file folder. So depending on, maybe it's the colors of your business or colors of maybe a project you're working on, you can just tailor it to meet those needs. So I just pulled out a little bit of coordinating paper to go with this. It's no special cardstock, just anything that you have. I find that the thicker cardstocks work the best, and these are one-sided sheets. So for those of you who scrapbook or make cards, you know there's a huge value in having double-sided paper. And so I know you tend to look for those because those really work well in coordinating patterns and colors. But when you find these paper pads like this that are a really great buy with some really pretty finishes on one side, this is a great project to use those single-sided pieces of paper that you might have been holding on to because you weren't sure what to do with. So I picked this one out for the front. I was going to just do this solid on the back. And then these were the pages that I picked for the inside. So with the sizes that we're going to cut, for each folder, when I measured the folders, we're going to want to cut our paper to fit the size of the folder. So that was about 11 3/4, and so that's why you want to have the 12 by 12 pieces of paper, so you can use the single piece of paper. And then it's about 9.5 tall. This is going to be a little shorter in the front if you want to follow this pattern and do this on the front of your front folder. But otherwise it's going to be 9.5 by 11 3/4 for your cuts. And then for the insides, we're just going to put one piece here on the back on the inside because that's the side you see. On the front, we will use one on the front to cover any closures if we need to. But so for those, you're just going to cut it at 5 inches deep. And in this case, because this pattern goes all the way to here, I will probably just cut it in half. So this one might even be 6. And then we'll put this at the top of the inside so that you can see these pretty flowers coming out. So with this is going to cover 2 of the folders insides. This will cover 2 of the folders insides, and this will cover 2 of the folders insides. So there's 6. We can do one that's 6 folders deep. And then if you cut these at 5, then you'll have a little strip left over because this is 12-inch paper. So you'll have 2-inch strip left over, and that's what you can cut your tabs out of. So that's how we're going to use all the paper for today's project. So there's very, very little waste. And then also I got the solid colors just in case we wanted to accent with a solid color, maybe on one of the insides or on some of the tabs. And so you can just do whatever it is that you like for your taste. And then on this one, I mentioned I want to do a special closure that we haven't shown you so far so that you can really get creative with the types of closures that you do. So I'll show you that later in the video. All right, so one of the first decisions to make with your folders is, are you going to want to have the dip in the front or not? And if you are, I cut off the front of one of my folders, and I'm going to use this as a template so that if I want this design to be on the front, I can trace it and then cut it out by hand. If you don't, you can just leave it straight across, or you can even take one of your little circle punches and you can make just a little divot in it if you want as well. So you can just slide that in and then just cut just a little tuck out of it. Okay, then I mentioned as well, the other thing you want is a little corner rounder. So as you have these corners here that are rounded off, you're going to cut your paper to match that, and that way it'll match exactly. Okay, so the first thing that I found helpful in this project is to cut all your paper so that all your paper is already cut. So we're going to cut this, as I mentioned, 11 3/4 wide. So this is going to be the pattern that's going to go across. So we're going to cut this down by 1/4 of an inch. So 11 3/4. And because this pattern is, you want it to be fairly centered, I'm going to cut a little bit off each side. So there's our piece for the front. And then again, this is your top and bottom, and this only matters if you have a pattern that you want to keep. And then I'm going to turn it to the side because this is where we want to do it at 9.5. And the 9.5 came from us cutting it so that it would fit the front. Now in this case, if we want to do it straight across, then we can have this little dip. If we don't want to cut it straight across and we're going to carve this out, then we only need to cut it here at the top of this right here. Okay, now one thing I noticed, when I was going to cut from this side at 9.5, it was going to cut off these little things. If I turn it over and cut it at 9.5, then it's going to cut just underneath these little things, and I think that's the look I want. So see, now I have this piece in case we want to use it for something. So here's our piece of paper, and so this is what it would look like if we did it from the bottom up to the top. And that's a pretty look. And then you can put, you know, my files or a title of what the files are on the front, and that would look pretty. And then we could just carve out our little front and do the little dip. Okay, there we go. Now it's cut correctly. All right, so now we're going to cut the pieces for the other folders, and then we will start to glue a few of them on. Okay, so we're going to have 6 folders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's how big our folder, expandable file folder organizer is going to be. So as I mentioned, we're just going to take these individual inside pieces and we're going to glue them on the inside. So I'm just using Dry's Clear Art Glitter Glue. It works just fine. And at this point, it doesn't matter what order we're going to put these inside because we can just put the folders in the order we want in a few minutes. But let's go ahead and glue these on the inside. Now, I found putting the glue on the inside of the folder is easier than the back of this because it's a little more difficult to get this slid in with glue on the back. So I'm just going to make sure we get the glue up here at the top corners really good because this is where it will drip down or where it will pull off. And then I'm just going to do a little zigzag pattern of glue. It's not really important how far down you get. You don't have to get all the way down with this, but so you don't have to get all the way down to the bottom of the folder, but you just want to make sure it's glued securely right around these edges. Okay, and there's our first one. So now we're going to do this with all of them, and don't forget, fit this inside first just to make sure it's going to lay flat inside before you glue it down, which I did not do with that one. Fortunately, it fit, so just wanted to remind you of that first. Okay, so we've got all of the insides put together, and now we can decide what order we want them to go in so that we don't get them out of order when we go to put them together, and we can decide which one is the best that follows the front, right? So would we want the flowers there? Do we want to see that pattern there, or do we want to see that pattern there? And I personally like that one to be at the front. So I think I want this as one of my front folders. And then the rest, I just want to stagger so that they aren't the same next to each other. Then I'll do that one, and that one. And then if we have this order, so I did have 6, I just had one hidden. Then let's make sure this is the one, this is going to be the back, and that this is the one we want when we see the back, and I think that will be pretty. Okay, so next, let's talk about closures for this. So I did one of the button closures, as you saw, and I did the wraparound. We've done the wraparound closure. On this one, I think I wanted to do something a little different, where we had a closure that started back here and wrapped around the front and kind of attached right here below the little notch. And so let's get the materials out that we would need to do that. Okay, so it's time to put a closure on this file folder system and then glue everything together. So the closure that I want to put on this one is going to be a little strap. And we're going to take the strap, I cut it 1.5 inches wide, and I think about 5 inches long, almost 6, 5 3/4 long. And then I thought about 3 3/4 of it needed to be above, and then the other 2 inches can go behind. So we're going to stick it between the back cover and the back folder, and then we're going to have it fold down to the front cover here, centered of course, and then we're going to put a magnet closure. So I have these tiny little magnets. They're really, really strong though. And we're going to put one between this front page of paper and the folder, and the other on the back of the closure, and then we'll cover the magnet with just a little same colored piece so you won't see it. Okay? And then I thought we'll put this cute little flower on the top, on the outside, to decorate it. So first of all though, let's glue all the other folders together except the front and the back. Okay? Now when you glue the folders together, because the folders have this little dip in them, I am going to put glue on the folder, the lower folder, and put the higher folder on top of it. Okay, so we're actually going to start from the bottom and work our way up. And when we do the glue, I'm just using the Art Glitter glue still. We're not going to put glue all the way out to this edge. So we're just going to put glue here in the center part. That way it will be a little bit more expanding that way. And then we're going to take the next one, and this is where you want to make sure your folders are still in order where you put them. And then we're just going to make sure they're even across the bottom and on the sides. Okay, so now let's glue the back and the back flap down first. So we want the front flap to come down and be centered over this area here. And so I made a mark where I thought would be the best place for that to be secured underneath. So I'm going to use a piece of double stick tape first to secure it. so we can get it where we want it. All right, so far so good. Now we're going to take this magnet and we're going to glue the magnet down underneath the flap. And then there's the magnet. So that looks awesome. And then this will expand. This will allow it to expand. But that's a pretty nice, pretty closure. And there's our little file folder. You can cut tabs from these pieces of paper or from the coordinating paper or from plain white, and then we can glue the tabs on. Now I happen to have a tab punch from Stampin' Up, but you can use whatever one you have. There's several kind of tab punches out there. You can also take and trace a tab, make your own pattern, and use it. So we'll just punch out 5 of these. And then think about how you want to space these before you get too far. So if you want them just staggered like this, for example, you just want to make sure you space them properly across. So now these are going to stick up, but like for example, this one I can put here, and this one I'll put here, and that way they'll be the same distance from the edge. And then I can put this one maybe in the center, and then I can take these two and center them between these two here. And that way they will be even. Okay, and then that's what our tabs look like. Super cute, right? So there is our finished little file folder expanded. And again, we can put anything here that we want. You can put, you know, April's files. You can put, you probably wouldn't want anything serious in this like bills or anything, but you could put, you know, creative ideas. So you could just either handwrite it or use a die cut machine. So whether it's a Cricut or just like a Sizzix, right, you can take some little letters like this and you can cut them out and then you can put them on. And you could do it in the coordinating papers so that everything matches. Super cute, right? So you can make lots of these with all kinds of different colors and patterns. You can even use stickers or washi tape to decorate it. But that is how it looks. And this is our cute little expanded folder. So thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to see the folders that you create. So please share your photos in the April May Creations Facebook page or comment below with what you decided to do. I did these 2 different styles just to give you an idea of the flexibility that you have and the different ways that you can do the closures. So use your imagination as well. If you don't have magnets and you don't want to buy magnets, you can just use a piece of Velcro. They sell the little round Velcro dots in the stores, and you can use just a little Velcro dot if you wanted to do that as well. So have fun with this project. Make sure to show me what you've made. And until next time, happy creating and be inspired. Thank you for spending time today with April May Creations. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share it with people in your life who need a little creative inspiration to make something fun. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on April May Creations. I have a variety of videos for you to check out next, featuring handmade projects, secrets to stress-free crafting, easy organization, and so much more. If you are not the maker type, check out my Etsy store at April May Creations US, where I take custom orders and offer many of these finished products for sale.